We are here today to celebrate the launch of When the Final Whistle Blows, Glory, Grief, and Tottenham Hotspur by Andrew Pettifer. I'm going to read Andrew's bio and then I have got some questions to ask him. I'm Andrew's publisher, Jessica Muddett, and I'm the founder of Hembury Books. Andrew Pettifer is a British Australian author whose work explores the human condition, the joys of travel, and a lifelong devotion to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. His writing blends humour and insight with a fascination for people and places, highlighting the warmth and emotional depth found in shared journeys. Andrew, congratulations. It's an amazing book. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Oh, I think a combination of excitement and a bit of trepidation.
Yes.
Firstly, thank you and all your team and everyone at Hembury Books for getting us to this point. It's been good, and as we're going to mention, we've done two books, so we'll come back to that. But yeah, look, I think with regards to When the Final Whistle Blows, as you know, I've been working really hard to market the book ahead of its launch. We've got a really well-defined audience of, I reckon there's about 100 million English-speaking Spurs supporters in the world, and I've been on a mission to try and get the book in front of them,
Mm.
and so a little bit of trepidation to see how successful that's been.
Mm.
And then, of course, the next thing is if people do buy it, what do they think of it? And as a first-time author, you write something and I read it and I think, oh, I think that's pretty good, but who knows? So yeah,
Mm.
we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, sure. And those feelings, I mean, that's the thing. When you put something out to the market, you cannot predict with any certainty ever how something's going to land. But
Yeah.
I'm confident that there'll be lots of praise and lots of thank you for doing this type comments. So
Yeah, I
and
hope so.
you've had amazing success and amazing feedback already.
Yeah, and that's been encouraging. What I have had. So yeah, I'm optimistic. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
And you're not a true author until you get a 1-star nasty review, right? Because
All the other supporters from the other teams will be giving me bad reviews.
yeah, totally, totally. But it's part, and actually, I've read on Amazon, on resources about Amazon and stuff that it is not if you get only completely positive reviews,
Yeah,
customers don't believe them. So
yeah,
actually, when your book goes out to a truly wide group of people, that's actually the sign of success.
yeah.
So not that I'm not worried for you at all. I think that this is going to be an amazing thing in your life, actually.
Yeah, well, it already has been, to be honest. But so
Yeah,
yeah, so hopefully, onward and up.
this is just the beginning of something that's very exciting.
Mm.
Now, yes, it's very unusual to publish two books on one day. We must say, today is the publication of When the Final Whistle Blows and the publication of Travels with Tracy. Why did you decide to publish both the books on the same day?
Okay, so you will recall when I first contacted you, it was to talk about Travels with Tracy.
Yeah.
That's what we were looking to publish, and I think I might have mentioned to you that I'd written this other book, but I wasn't really planning to proceed with it at that point. And so when the final whistle blows is basically it's a bit like a journal in a way. It was written contemporaneously, week by week, through a football season, talking about my emotional engagement with this team and what it's like to follow them, and the fact that we would Tracy and I have been traveling, so we watched the matches in lots of different places, and that was the idea of the book, is like a sort of journal of the season. And my hope was an expectation at the beginning of the season was that we'd be really successful, and all the supporters would want to relive the season by my book. But it didn't really work out like that, and it got to around February, so late January, February, and it was clear the team wasn't having a great season. So I kind of kept the book going, but then I started to write Travels with Tracy, because Tracy and I have been traveling, as you know, full time, and had some amazing experiences.
Mm.
By that point, I sort of got the writing bug. So I got into writing what became Travels with Tracy, and that became our primary focus.
Mm.
Then, right at the end of the season, two things happened. One was, despite having a dreadful season in the league, Tottenham ended up winning their first trophy in a European tournament, for first trophies for 17 years. And around the same time, a really dear friend of mine who was a big Spurs fan passed away through voluntary assisted dying after a long battle with cancer. And that happened 4 days after the trophy win.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, those things sort of brought a natural kind of narrative arc together for that book, which up until that point, it wasn't so much an arc; it was more just a sort of downward trajectory, which is why I'd kind of given up on
Yeah.
it. But all of a sudden, it started to make sense, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to publish this book. And I went to see Cameron just 2 days before he died, and I said, look, I need your permission to tell your story in the book, which he gladly gave. And I said, I'm going to donate the proceeds to cancer research and to the Chris O'Brien Lifehouse, which is the hospital
Mm.
yeah. And of course he was, that he thought that was a good thing. So then it became, well, this is the primary thing I need to get out there, because there was this real feel-good factor amongst my natural audience, all the Spurs supporters, the fact that we'd won this trophy. So I'm like, I need to get this out quickly.
Mm.
And of course, that's one of the great things about coming to you guys. You were able to facilitate that, compared to other potential paths. So that became the focus, and then the next thing was, well, what do we do with Travels with Tracy? And we talked about it, and we could have pushed it back 2 or 3 months, but my thinking was, well, if people buy this
Yeah. Yeah.
and they like it and they want to read something else I've written, well, we ought to have it available for them.
Make it available. Yeah.
So that was the thought process. Well, okay, well, we'll just do them both together, and here we are.
And here we are. Yeah. And what have you learnt about the publishing process? It's a fascinating beast, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the whole traditional publishing thing, I just don't get really,
Mm.
because
I get it.
we could spend hours talking about that, but it seems to me that doesn't really act in the author's favor at all, and particularly for somebody like me, who's I've been able to work really hard on marketing the book. It seems to me that return should come to me, or in this case, the charity, not to some big behemoth of a company. And then paying you for your services, is appropriate, and that's so I covered that at the beginning. And then you've just sort of guided us through the journey, which has been interesting, of going down that path and all the intricacies and what's involved. But that's part of the journey, and part of what writing the book was a new thing for me, and now going through this journey is a new thing, and then the marketing's is something again. So it's all a learning experience for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful though. It's did you think that you would write a book like all through your life?
No, no.
No, it's taken you completely by surprise.
When I gave up full-time work, so I'm by profession, I'm a consulting engineer. And I gave that up because Tracy and I had we're had the good fortune to be in a position to have choices, and the choice we made was to travel. And I started to write some sort of Facebook posts, and I've always quite enjoyed writing, but and then people started to say, I really look forward to your next post, and so I started a blog, and then people started saying, oh, you should write a book, and I thought, oh, maybe I will, and that's kind of how it started. But it's only really been in the last couple of years that's emerged, really.
Yeah, fantastic. And it is fantastic that we've been able to move at speed, because you want to capitalize, like with When the Final Whistle Blows. It was last season, so it's hot off the press, which is just fantastic.
And frankly, even with the travel book as well, I mean, it's the last 2 years. It's things that people will remember that happened, like the Paris Olympics and stuff. It needs to be current.
You don't want to wait a year or two for it still to be sitting in production. It's just also frustrating. People like us, we have an idea, we execute, and we want to take it to fruition, see what happens. So Tottenham Hotspur has been your team since you were a kid.
Yeah.
The season you document is your 60th season as a fan.
Yes.
What has it been like to follow a team for that length of time, and especially from the other side of the world?
Do you know, obviously lots of highs and lows, and mainly lows up until very recently. When I was a kid, we used to win quite a few things, and that was a lot of fun and very exciting for me as a young kind of fan. And then I guess it's just kind of settled down a bit over the years. But it's interesting, being in Australia and in being involved in the Australian supporters club. People are very passionate. And it made me think about, there's this thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called diaspora identity preservation. That's the notion that when people go and live in another part of the world, they tend to hang on to the traditions and values of their culture, even more so than people who,
Mm.
you know, stay living. And I think there's a little bit of that kind of going on when, you know, for not all the supporters club in Australia are expats, but obviously a lot of them are.
Mm.
And really it's partly, you know, there's this kind of tribal aspect to following a football club, but also being overseas and you know, it's something that binds us together. It's something that links us back to our you know, our cultural heritage, if you like,
Mm.
of where we've come from. So that I think now is really part of what it's about. But for me, you know, like my dad has always been a fan. He made me a fan, if you like. There was never really any
Any
discussion
question
about it.
or choice?
And so it's kind of part of me in a way, but also part of this big global sort of tribe. You know that, you know, as I say, hundreds of millions of people are part of. So it's pretty cool. You know, I mean,
It's really nice because if you were not a fan, you simply wouldn't have had the community and the deep, deep friendships that you've had.
yeah, through that and the whole Cameron
Mhm.
thing. You know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you know, we can talk a bit more about that. But it's right. It's, you know, and meeting, you know, a whole range of people that, you know, through, you know, the normal course events I wouldn't have met. Yeah,
Mm.
it's great. I really enjoy it.
It's a wonderful thing. Do you want to tell us about Cameron?
Yeah, Cameron. He was the leader. We have chapters of the supporters club all around Australia. I think it's 11 or 12 of them now, something like that. And each one has a leader, and their job really is just to sort of coordinate, rally the troops, let people know when we're meeting up, and that sort of thing. And Cameron did that for about 8 years. Much of that time, he had cancer, and obviously was having treatment, and it ebbed and flowed over the years.
Mm.
Eventually, he had to give that role up. But, you know, everybody knows Cameron. He was our host, if you like. Um, and you know, he was a very humble man by his own admission. You know,
Mm.
he didn't, you know, go out and change the world, except for people who knew him. You know, he was just one. He's really humble, really friendly, looked out for everybody. Just a really, really nice guy. Um, so yeah, that was Cameron, really.
I think he'd be really happy to see this book coming out today. To
Yeah,
see.
I'm sure. And he said one of the things he said to me, in fact, the first thing he said after I suggested it to him that I was doing it, he said, "Would you get a copy to my brother and my mum?" Which I've done. I've sent them signed copies, you know, so that was nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. And you got to watch Tottenham play Everton with your dad in the first home game of the season. What was it like going back with him after so many years?
40 years since we've been to a home game. We did go to an away game together about 5 years ago, near where he mum and dad live. But yeah, it was great. I mean, everything's changed. We've got this, you know, brand new stadium. Well, it's not brand new. It's about 6 or 7 years old now. But Dad had never been to the
Mm.
new stadium, and that was really part of my thinking. Was obviously have a day out with him, take him to the new stadium. He was 86, I think, and yeah, I don't think he'd done it on his own, but you know, you know, him and I having a day out was great. It was a
Mm.
really nice thing to do.
That's beautiful. The 24-25 Tottenham season unfolded alongside your travels, which you explore in great detail in Travels with Tracy. Drawing on either of those books or both of them, could you tell us about the strangest or most exciting setting in which you watched your team play?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, a lot of them I'm in my motorhome now, as you can see, and a lot of them were watched here. Um, and as we traveled around, you know, there was one on top of a cruise ship. In Actually, we were just leaving Stockholm as the game kicked off, and that was pretty interesting. There was another one where we were about to fly back to the UK, and the game kicked off, and I was in the Emirates lounge at Sydney. And then the second half, I was actually on the plane waiting to take off. So that was pretty unusual. So yeah, quite a range of different environments, you know, to watch games. And because through the beauty of technology these days, you know, with the streaming services we have and with data
Mm.
being everywhere,
Mm.
you know, wherever I am,
Yeah, it's
I can watch the
amazing.
game. Yeah.
But you can't get around time. And although, you know, you get up or whatever you need to, or stay up or whatever, I
Yeah.
also found it funny how Tracy would have seen it but she knew better than to tell you what it was.
She'd see the result. I'd get
Yeah.
up sometimes, like if it's like you say, if it's in the middle of the night, if it kicks off at midnight, like we did this weekend, I'll stay up and watch it till sort of 2 o'clock. Anything later than that is like, no, I can just watch it in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's right. So Tracy will often, she'll stay in bed and she'll be on her phone and she'll know what the score is, but she won't tell me, obviously, whilst I'm watching the game.
Tone of silence.
Yes.
Yeah. What did seeing Tottenham win the Europa League trophy mean to Cameron?
I guess it's difficult to say. I mean, it was 4 days before he planned to die. I don't know. How do you put yourself in that headspace and try and imagine what that might be like? For somebody. I have to say, he dealt with it with his, and this is part of what I talk about in the book. He just had this incredible kind of grace and dignity with the way that he dealt with the end of his life, and being able to do that through voluntary assisted dying. So that was the context, but nevertheless, we know that he really enjoyed the game, and some of the guys went and actually watched the match with him in his hospital bedroom, and we were in contact with him because we were down organising the event at the pub, so we were in contact with him as well, and of course he would have really enjoyed that moment, no question about it.
Bittersweet for
we
everyone.
were really happy that one of the things we were happy about, other than the fact that we won, was we were happy for him that he was able to see that before he went, because in some ways you think, well, that's a bit trivial, so what, a football match on the other side of the world, but for Cameron it was a big part of his life. Being a supporter of the club was a big thing, but the thing that really would have meant more to him than was the fact that everybody was there for him. The fact that some of the guys went and watched the match. So many of the Oz Spurs, went to see him once, twice, three times during that time, and it really reinforced, I think, that community spirit and how fundamental, he was to that, and that was to him. So that really was the thing, I think, that came out. And his brother Jason has been absolutely blown away. He's just so impressed by this community that his brother was part of, that I don't think he really quite understood until that point.
And that his brother led. He was the leader. Yeah. Can you tell viewers about how your book is structured? So if they're a fan watching this, what is your book going to give them?
So, like I said, I wrote it week by week. So every week there's one, sometimes two matches. And I do a very quick snapshot of the match. Not like a full-blown match report. And I try and find sort of funny or unusual anecdotes about things that happen in the game, rather than just, a boring football match report. And then each week I wrap around that a bit of a narrative around either something that's happening to us on our travels, or sometimes I reminisce about something that's, happened through that 60 years of me supporting. So, I mean, particularly for people who are Spurs fans, I think a lot of those stories will resonate with them. So it's both the season just gone, but also covers sort of 60 years of being
history.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like the standout moments and everything, and your memories and all of that.
Yeah, and then also, particularly at the end again, it really kind of, and partway through as well, it kind of reflects on this concept of what does it mean to follow a football club? Why is it important? Is it important? And so there's a little bit of sort of philosophical stuff in there around.
Yeah, it's a sociological.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a huge phenomenon. It really is. I mean, one of the things some people might be offended by this. I hope not, but I talk about football being like the religion of our times. And stadia are like the cathedrals of our times. People flock to them, and it's about human connection. It's about having some way of being part of something. And so I do believe sociologically it's really interesting. I mean, in the soccer, you get AFL in Melbourne. That's a really good example. There are other examples, but the thing about the English Premier League, it's become truly global. It is massive global sport now.
Absolutely. Do you know, have you found any books that are even similar to yours? I love these fan non-fiction accounts. We get all these superstar bios that are ghostwritten and stuff, but a heartfelt account from a fan. Have you found anything similar?
There is a famous book about our big rivals, and I've just forgotten the name of it. But there is one
Fan.
written by a fan about his relationship with his club. So yeah, I'm really frustrated now. I've forgotten the name of it. But anyway, but there is kind of one or two examples out there. But but the way I've done it, writing it through the season, doing the little match reports and things. No, I've never seen anything like that. I think it is pretty novel,
Okay.
if not unique.
Well, let's see how the fans respond. Let's see how the
It's
fans
called
respond.
Fever Pitch. It's just come to me.
Fever pitch. Okay. Have you got plans to send it to any players?
Players. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm not sure about that. I've been engaging with a lot of the Spurs sort of community around, the journalists and the podcasters and the YouTubers and even the official supporters club are going to put it in their newsletter.
Amazing.
So that's been fantastic. But I've held off engaging directly with the club, and that's because I think if they were going to try to support it, they'd want some element of editorial input. And obviously I've written it from the heart, what I think about this club and the chairman and the way it's all set up and stuff. And there's nothing too controversial, but it is my view.
Independent. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, really important to me. So no, I've not looked for support of the club or players, but the broader Spurs community has just been excellent.
They have embraced it with both hands, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the podcast you've got coming up? Is it Chris Cowley?
Chris Cowlin. Yeah, actually, funnily enough, so Chris does a YouTube channel. It's the biggest Spurs supporters YouTube channel in terms of viewers in the world. And I contacted Chris, and he said, "Yeah, look, it'd be great to have you on." And so I sent him a copy of the book, and he's been really engaging. And actually, we were due to be on Thursday this week.
Yeah.
But I got an email in from him this morning. He said, "Look, we can do Thursday this week." He said, "But Spurs had a terrible performance at the weekend and lost." And he said, if you want maximum viewers, obviously you want to do it the week after they won, because then more people watch, right? So he said, look, we can do it this week if you want, but if you want more viewers,
Wow.
we'll leave it. So we've actually pushed it back a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to do it, the week after.
Well, the pressure is on. They had bet to win.
I know.
You said he's got the largest YouTube channel. You told me the other day exactly the size of that there's 90 million views
I think
a year on
I
YouTube.
think this year to date, there were like 70 million views of Spurs YouTube channels, and 45 million are for his channel. So he's a really big, he's sort of become the leader there. But then there's a couple of other podcasts. There's one called the Cheese Room podcast, which I actually talk about in the book. And they've had me on, and they're going to have me on again. They've been really super helpful. There's another one that I'm going to do on Wednesday this week. So yeah, but like I say, you see, it's a tribe, right? And when and particularly with the charity angle, everybody wants to help. So hopefully it'll all lead to sales ultimately.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, your pre-sales have been very strong, so I'm really excited for you. Okay, we need to ask whether you think that Ange, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Postecoglou,
that's right,
has been hard done by.
Was he hard done by? Yeah, because he was sacked at the end of last season, the Australian, and I'm going to say no, but just to go back, the part of the inspiration for the book was the fact that we had an Australian coach. And the coach I really liked, and I still really like. I mean, he's a great human being. I really like his values, how he does what he does. But ultimately, we were dreadful for most of last season, and that has to be laid at his door. And what I say is, I think they did him a favour by sacking him, because this is my theory. They sacked him after he'd won a trophy, first trophy in 17 years, so he's a hero. Okay,
yeah,
he will forever be a hero. Whereas if because of that, right? But if they'd let him stay and we'd had another dreadful season, he'd have left as a failure. Right? So I actually think they did the right thing. I think his legacy is clear. He will always be loved for what he achieved. But ultimately, it wasn't good enough, and he had to go. And I get that.
Okay. Yep. That sounds very reasonable. How are you feeling about your team for season 2025-26? And are you preparing for battle all over again?
Yeah, well, it started, of course, with three games into the season. We won two and lost one. Yeah, look, you always have to be optimistic at the beginning of the season. You know, it's
Mm.
just the nature of it. We
Mm.
got the new coach. I like him, Thomas Frank. He's very thoughtful, very tactically astute coach. So, yeah, hopefully we can get another trophy this year.
Mm.
But we don't, like I said, it's not really about that at the end of the day. We go into every season optimistic, hoping we win something, knowing that more likely than not we won't.
Mm.
So you have to be in it for more than that, right? And the thing we're in it for is the community and the mateship and everything that
Mm.
goes with it. And you get that whether they win or lose. So, but yeah, I'm optimistic for the time being because you kind of have to be.
Yeah, sure. Um, can we expect to see any further sporting books or travel books from Andrew Pettifer?
Well, probably. Yes, probably yes. I mean, obviously I would like to see that these ones have got some level of success, which might will help with motivation. But
Mm.
I've got a couple of ideas. One, I mean, we are doing the travels with Tracy. Tracy was about our first 2 years of our travel, and we're doing a third. So there's definitely the potential for more travels with Tracy. But the
We
other
could
one
call it More Travels with Tracy, a sequel.
yeah, it's a sequence. Yeah, exactly. But funnily enough, the first idea I had for a Spurs book was quite a big idea, but it's still out there. So it's kind of similar to what I ended up doing with this one, but it's to do with the fact that we've got 200 supporters clubs all over the world,
Mm.
and many of them organise meetups in pubs and clubs and things to watch matches. So my original idea was to spend a season literally going around the world to different supporters clubs in different countries all around the world. And so that would then obviously be a travel book, but
Yep.
it would also be similar to this. It's follow the story of a season
Yep.
and the travels, and then the people, the characters that we meet, the places that we go to. Uh,
Amazing.
that sounds like a really cool idea. So that was my
Yeah.
first idea. But it's a huge, obviously a huge commitment,
Undertaking. It
and
is.
let alone expense. So
Yeah.
I've still got that idea. I'm still thinking that might be something that I would do maybe in a year or two.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Again, that's a completely unique angle.
Yeah. There is a guy who wrote a book about the Overseas Supporters Club, which I think I showed it to you right when we first met, self-published. Um, but what he did was he basically just sort of spoke to people on phones, on Zoom and stuff like that, and
Yep.
told a little bit about the stories of these different things. Whereas my idea is actually go there,
Yep.
which is a whole different thing.
You know you're a reporter, right? By nature.
Storyteller.
Yeah, well, a reporter, I mean, that's a dream journalist assignment to
Yeah, right.
go and be there. You have, in another life, you may have been a journalist,
Good.
sports journalist. Well, it's just going to be really exciting to see, we know that books take on a life of their own and the opportunities reveal themselves once we bring the book into the world. Like
Yeah.
once people can enjoy it and see it, then that's when doors seem to magically open and incredible opportunities arise. So for sure, this is going to be exciting, Andrew, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And we're so proud to have published both your books
Thank you.
and hope that you love life as an author.
Mm. Yeah, look, it's fun. I didn't go into it to be successful or make money. So in a way, I've got nothing to lose. And everything's an upside.
Yeah, totally. And you have shared your stories with the world, which is satisfying.
Mm.
And I think that's the right mentality, but also you approach it as a business because it is a business. And you're going to make the opportunities happen as well by being on the front foot, to use a sporting metaphor.
Yeah, yeah, that's indeed.
Fantastic. Okay, well, all the best to you, Andrew. And if anyone would like to check out your books, they can go to your website, correct?
Yeah, so andrewpettifer.com. There's a page in there on each of the books. It gives you the blurb and so on, and also the links through to Amazon to buy. But there's also a few other examples of some of my other writing, from my professional life, some comedy I've done, and things like that. So if people are interested to know a bit more about what I'm about, then andrewpettifer.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, congratulations, Andrew.
Thanks, Jess.